Welcome to the Tony Scott Internet Show. The day after the elections, the midterms. I don't know why I call them midterms. Is it because it's midway through the term of the presidential run, or because President Obama has 2 more years left and it's going to be a rough 2 years? We'll get to that in a second. Locally, though, one of the big races people were looking at was for St. Louis County Executive. And for those who are not familiar with exactly, it's like being the mayor of St. Louis County, because St. Louis City is not part of St. Louis County. St. Louis City is not part of any county. They stand alone. So they have their own mayor, and the county has their own mayor. They basically call him the county executive. And Steve Stinger won the race by less than 2,000 votes over Republican Rick Stream. Now, at Steve Stinger's acceptance speech late last night, protesters showed up. Protesters that are calling for Officer Darren Wilson's arrest for murdering Michael Brown. They were escorted out. Some were arrested. Was it surprising that they showed up? No, not really. No. Steve Stinger has been getting a lot of heat from the protesters because he didn't call or he supported St. Louis County Prosecutor Bob McCullough, who is overseeing the Darren Wilson case. And of course, Bob McCullough has a lot of ties to police. And people say that he cannot be objective in what he's doing, and which would mean that nothing is going to happen, which is everybody's fear. And slowly it's starting to become reality, although nothing's been announced officially. And Bob McCullough said yesterday that the grand jury is still poring over evidence, so we don't know what's going to happen with that. What else happened here? Governor of Illinois, Pat Quinn, was defeated by Bruce Rauner, and the Republicans now have control of U.S. Congress. But what does that mean? Well, President Obama has 2 more years left in his second term. Probably means he's not going to get a lot done. He wouldn't get much done anyway because there's just too much fighting amongst Congress to get anything done. But I guess if I had to pinpoint the first thing, they've always said that when they got control, they were going to dismantle Obamacare, or try very hard to do it. For some reason, they just don't like Obamacare. My guess is because our health care system in America was reformed by an African-American president, when all these other years, a white president couldn't get it done. Even though, like in probably Mitch McConnell, who's probably going to be the Senate Majority Leader, he was the one who says that the GOP's mission was to make sure President Obama didn't get a second term. That was their main mission. They didn't really care about anything else. And he's been calling for repeal of Obamacare since. But where the state he represents, Kentucky, they actually have a version of Obamacare. So it's okay for Kentucky, the state, but it's not okay for the rest of America to have access to health care, those who couldn't afford it or who had pre-existing conditions. Apparently, we don't care about our fellow humans unless we live in Kentucky, if you're Mitch McConnell. So that's the story there. What else is going on, man? A lot going on. I was going to do the podcast earlier, but I was waiting on some things and then taking care of some other business and stuff. So I'm finally here and doing it for you, and hopefully I'm catching up to you. You're not catching up to me, is what I am hoping. But there's lots of other things that are going on. Let me see. The teacher evaluation proposal in Missouri, where teachers would be evaluated, was actually voted down. So, General Motors is offering $25 gift cards to get you to take your car, if your car's, people who've had their cars recalled for ignition switch problems, get them repaired, they'll give you a $25 gift card. Buicks, Cadillacs, Chevys, Oldsmobiles. They don't even make Oldsmobiles anymore, do they? Pontiacs. Do they still make Pontiacs? And Saturns. You got to get it done by December 1st, or at least get the car to the dealer by then. You can get an Amazon card, AMC movie theater card, an Applebee's gift card, Bass Pro Shops, Red Robin, Starbucks, Walmart, are the gift card choices you will have if your car's been recalled. That may be what you want to do. In Buda, Texas, I didn't know there was such a city called Buda, Texas. But a teacher there is out of the classroom and looking at criminal charges after allegedly telling his students that classmates threatening to shoot up the high school remain at large and gunmen would target bullies first. This happened around 1 o'clock last Thursday afternoon. A Hays County investigator arrived at Hays High School to find a string of students lined up out the office door waiting on their parents to pick them up early. Parents pulled like 130 of their kids. The student who allegedly threatened to shoot and stab an assistant principal is behind bars. But the teacher told his classes that there were more potential gunmen on the loose. And if y'all have ever bullied somebody else, he says, you're going to be the first ones to go. If he comes in here and starts shooting, hopefully he'll be out of bullets by the time he finishes with y'all and sees me. This is what the teacher told his students. Ricardo Sanchez, I believe, is the teacher's name. Man. Yeah, he can't keep it again, you know. Trust me, I'm very careful now when I say I need somebody's job. But he can't. Maybe he can work somewhere else in the school district, but he can't teach kids anymore. You can't do that, man. What's wrong with you? In Fort Lauderdale, Florida, a 90-year-old volunteer, Arnold Abbott, was arrested for preparing and serving a meal to a group of homeless people. They're looking to fine him $500 and maybe 2 months in jail. He's 90 years old. He and 2 church ministers were arrested. They're accused of violating a new local ordinance that outlaws the distribution of food to homeless people in public places. Wow, they got a law in Fort Lauderdale that won't let you feed the homeless in public? Wow, that's horrible. Mr. Abbott says one of the police officers came over and says, drop that plate right now. Drop that plate right now. Put your gun down. Put your plate down. And your hands up. Oh, one of the pastors arrested said, quote, we believe very strongly that Jesus taught us that we are to feed his sheep. So in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, you cannot feed a homeless person in public, like at a park. You can't do that. You can take them inside a building. I guess you can do that. That's not really in public per se, but in the street, you can't give somebody like a candy bar who's sitting on the curb or something. Like you can't do anything. Sitting in a park, you can't do that in Fort Lauderdale. That just seems. I mean, whoever agreed to vote that into law needs to be voted out. I mean, because that just there's a degree of. I mean, first of all, it's wrong, but second of all, it just seems like there's a degree of arrogance about that. That's just, I don't know. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You know, Olive Garden has been promoting this, what's it called? It's called the Pasta Pass, the never-ending Pasta Pass. And a North Carolina man has used his never-ending Pasta Pass from Olive Garden. He's eaten over 95 meals over the last month and a half. He bought the pass for $100 and so far has eaten over $1,500 worth of food. He's going to eat there every day, twice a day, until his pass expires in 4 days. The pass was only made available to 1,000 people. I wonder why it was only 1,000. I mean, I guess it makes sense from their perspective because they'd be out of business if they made it available to everybody. If everybody did what this man did, went, twice a day, every day. That's not a bad deal, though. He paid $100 for it, and will receive so far over $1,500 worth of food. That's a pretty good return on your investment. Now, when you do that, I guess you're still need to leave a tip. It doesn't include drinks, I would imagine. I don't know. Maybe it does. I don't know. But I don't know. Would you do that? Would you pay $100 for never-ending pasta at Olive Garden? Would you do, not forever, for a limited time? would you do, because a lot of people say, I love Italian food. My oldest daughter loves Italian food. But would you pay $100? Me, no, because I'm not really a fan of Italian food. I mean, it's all right. I mean, but I don't know if I want to eat it twice a day like this man did, Alan Martin. But wow, $1,500 worth of food for only $100. That's a pretty good thing. Pretty good deal. We all saw the horrific video of the woman who was abducted in Philadelphia, Carlisha Freeland Gaither. Snatched off the street. Well, apparently a bank camera caught a man using her bank card, but the image is very grainy. Now, you would think, as a side note here, that in this world of HD, we can put it in a little bitty HD camera in a smartphone. Why can't a bank have an HD camera focused on their ATM machines? In 2014, why do we still have grainy images? Now, I understand weather and lighting plays a part of that, but I mean, can we get better cameras for that? You know? I mean, they should have better lighting. I mean, around an ATM, when someone puts their card in the machine, then lights should come on, right? Or maybe that's a safety issue. Brings attention to somebody's at the ATM. Maybe somebody can rob them. So maybe that's not a good idea, Tony. Maybe you should shut up about that. But the young lady, Carlisha Freeland Gaither, her abduction shocked the world. You know, we're beginning to see things, literally see things that we only heard about not that long ago. You know, the domestic violence video of Ray Rice, this abduction. We've seen so many different things. Police brutality we've seen on video, which is really kind of taking, you know, eyewitness accounts out of it when you can see it for yourself. You know, my fear is that this is going to become so available that we're going to become desensitized to it. You know, like we've become desensitized to certain crimes because we hear about it all the time. It's, yeah, he got robbed. Did you hear? You know, 30 years ago, it was like, oh my God, he got robbed. Now it's like, man, he shouldn't have been over there, man. He knows that's a bad situation. Everybody knows it's bad over there. I mean, that's where we are now. People are so desensitized to certain crime that we just look the other way or just yawn when we hear about it. But we saw the video of her flailing in vain as a man rushed her along the sidewalk to a parked car. My hope is that this isn't like, I don't even want to say it, but I hope it's not like like she's involved in it, trying to get attention or something. I hope it's not a cry for attention. But then again, I'd rather it be a cry for attention than actually have this happen. You know, it's one of those kinds of things, and hopefully she is found very soon. And we can find out what the hell is going on with that. Lauryn Hill. You know, the world's different now because, you know, it used to be, or maybe we just didn't hear about it, but, you know, you show up late, there's a price to pay. And, of course, Lauryn Hill has been late for quite a few performances. Last summer, she was supposed to perform in House of Blues at 10:30. She didn't go up until like 11:20. Well, it's not even an hour. Shut up. I paid to see her. The ticket says 10:30. And a fan called her out for her tardiness, but she went off on the fan. I do this because I love it, not because I owe you anything. You can say whatever you want. I don't give a rat's ass, is what she said. Well, you know what? You're wrong, though, Lauren, because people are owed something because they paid to see you at a certain time is, you know, what's on the ticket. And I think people are probably forgiving up to about 30 minutes. Me, I'd be ready to, I want my money back after 15 minutes. I'm a kind of person, you do what you say what you do. I'm that way. Well, she performed at the Voodoo Experience Music Festival, but it was cut short because she was late last Saturday night. Fans were not happy with her performance being cut short. Some fans felt the festival management disrespected Lauryn Hill because they were dimming the lights on her while she performed. But the management says, you know what, things happen. Lauryn Hill was late. And we can't extend her because she was late. We can't extend her because we got other acts waiting to perform. It ain't fair to them. So they gave her another chance to perform later that night on a smaller stage, and she was late again. She didn't talk about her lateness earlier or anything like that. But, you know, to me, it's like, show up. Perform on time. You signed a contract saying, I'm going to perform on this date at this time. What's the problem? She's not the only one who does this, but this is her turn in the jackpot right now. What's the problem? You agreed to do this. What's the problem? Well, you know how artists are. Well, they're that way because we enable them. We say, okay, cool. No problem. At least she went on, right? I don't know, man. That's just not my thing. I just say what you do. Say what you're going to do. Do what you're going to say you're going to do. That's all. That's it. That's all. Just fulfill the obligation. Joshua Soul is a man from Dunwoody, Georgia, right outside Atlanta, who apparently Tyler Perry is suing over being his stalker, uninvited intrusion. And Tyler Perry wants this man kept at least 500 feet away from him. He wants $25,000 for attorney fees, and he wants a good behavior clause if the dude's let out on bail. He's arrested, but apparently this Joshua, I guess it's Soul. There's no thing over the E, so it's not Soleil. He says, Tyler Perry says that Josh is trying to intimidate him, saying the lawsuit, the suit he filed, Tyler Perry filed, says that Souls was so determined to meet him in person that he cut off the power at Tyler Perry Studios to disable the alarms and surveillance equipment. And then he climbed into the studio through a suspended ceiling. I mean, this man wanted to meet Tyler Perry. For what reason, I have no idea. But police in Atlanta say they got involved because they got a call about an intruder at Tyler Perry Studios last Thursday night at 6 o'clock. And when they got there, the head of security told them that an employee, Joshua Soul, had been acting kind of weird and barricaded himself in a room where the administrative offices were located. Unless you've ever been stalked, you just don't know what that feeling is. It's creepy, right? I've talked to somebody, they say it's creepy. It's scary as hell. I mean, you're scared to even go into your own house. You're scared to be in your own house. Because if you're in one room, you have this fear that they somehow got in your house and they're hiding in another room, maybe in a closet. I mean, you live with that fear. Can you imagine having to live with that? I mean, if you're Tyler Perry, you can, in theory, insulate yourself to a point with security systems and security guards and things like that. But when you're a civilian and don't have those kinds of means to do that, and you're basically on your own. I mean, the police say if he shows up, call me. Well, yeah, but if I call you, by the time he gets here, it could be over. I mean, that's a frightening situation to be in. It's just one of those things where you hope it never happens to you. TMZ is saying that Frank Ocean and Jay-Z and Kanye West are accused of stealing a song from a man who was selling his CDs outside of their hotel. Joel Mack was outside the Mercer Hotel in Soho, New York, a few years ago. And that's when they had got together, those three, Frank Ocean, Kanye, and Jay-Z, to record Jay-Z's Watch the Throne album. They actually recorded part of the album, supposedly, at the hotel. But Joel Mack says in his federal lawsuit that some guy named Mike Dean bought one of his CDs in front of the hotel. The next thing he knew, his song, Made in America, was cut 11 on the album. Jay-Z's song is also called Made in America. And they sound familiar, is what TMZ says. Mike Dean is one of the producers of the album. He wants a cut of the profits. That whole thing has always interested me because there are only so many music notes and combinations. I mean, when I say so many, there's many of them. But as far as music that has been released in the history of music, I'm sure there's been some inadvertent similarities. That new Tank song, something about You're My Star or something like that. There's a riff in there from one of the Jackson songs, the Jackson 5 or the Jackson songs. Right? I mean, was it by accident? Was it, I don't know. Who had it first? I don't know. The Marvin Gaye, Robin Thicke, Pharrell thing with Blurred Lines. Is one that's going through the system right now. And I think Robin had filed a lawsuit and wanted to be proactive about the lawsuit and head it off at the pass. And the judge says, no, you're going to have to go to trial. So there's been depositions. I told you, I think I mentioned this before, that Robin Thicke admitted that he was so high when the song was written that he really didn't have anything to do with it, although his name is on it. which means he threw Pharrell under the bus, right? Which is just horrible. Hey, but if your name is on it, then you're part of it, man. Sorry. I don't care if you were high or not. You're getting that royalty check, aren't you, for being a writer? So that's just how it's going to have to be, Mr. Man. That's just how it is. A woman in Michigan was sentenced to jail for stabbing Mary J. Blige's father during a domestic dispute. Cheryl White got a year with credit for 270 days already served. She'll be on probation 5 years. She got fined $17,000. That's to take care of Thomas Blige's nursing services. She did not address the court, which was her right to do on Monday. She pled no contest in September to the assault with intent to do great bodily harm. That doesn't mean that she's admitting guilt. That just means that I ain't saying nothing. Whatever. That's a whatever thing. They should call that the whatever plea. He caught her apparently slashing his tires back in January, and that's when she attacked him with a knife. So she'll get a year in jail, 5 years probation, and she's got to pay his medical costs, his nursing bills and stuff. $17,000 is where that is. Man, there's a lot going on. You hear about Howard Hendricks? He was going to jail on domestic disturbance, but because he's too big to fit in the patrol car, it was a bit of an issue. He's 6 feet tall, 500 pounds. So police said, let's call the van, the transport van, and we'll put him in there. 6 feet and 500 pounds, man, that's a big dude. And if he thought he wasn't get taken to jail, there were ways around the squad car. Did you hear about this guy, this father, who invited his daughter's rapist to dinner? And the rapist goes, and the father tortures him, and then killed him. His daughter's 14 years old. The man is in jail. The father's in jail, obviously, because the rapist was killed. But the father is in jail. You know what? I'll be honest. I don't think this man will get convicted. Whether it's jury nullification, or they'll say he was not in his right mind and he'll get off on that. But I don't know if I could convict him as a father of 3 daughters. I mean, that's crazy. This happened in India, where, they don't play that. All right, the father called the man over to the house to discuss an issue, served him dinner. After the meal, the father overpowered the man, tied him to a chair. He got heated tongs and burned the man's genitals before he choked him to death. And then he went to the police station and says, here's what I did. I can't see him getting convicted for something like that. I mean, because, but then again, it's not America, so, they got different things over there, so maybe I shouldn't even say that. Nicki Minaj apparently is broken up with her guy, Samuels. What's his first name? Safari? Anyway, they broke up. Longtime boyfriend. That means now you got a shot. Do I have a shot? No, I don't have a shot. I don't want a shot. I have a wonderful wife that I adore. So I'm not, And don't get me wrong, Nicki Minaj is a beautiful woman. But apparently, the police were called to the house because she took a baseball bat to his Mercedes-Benz, smashing the windows. And then she threw all of his clothes in the garbage. But police escorted him out of the house. She wasn't charged with anything because, as it turns out, the car is in her name. So technically, it's her property. So technically, there's no law against destroying your own property. And that's how that turned out. I remember, was that O.J. Simpson back in the day? Who was that? Someone else did that. And they actually, I don't remember if they got in trouble. I think they did get taken in, though. But usually if a man does that to a woman's car, even if the man owns it, they're going to take him in anyway. That's usually how it works. But in this case, the female owns everything, and the guy was shown the door. And it's like, you know what? It's her car. She can do what she wants with it as long as she don't hurt other people or violate any city ordinance. And if she's on her property with her own baseball bat and her own car, she can do what she wants. All right, we're going to leave it right there. I do want to shout out Lil Jon. Lil Jon, big ups to Lil Jon because he was, where was he? In Las Vegas? Where was he? He had to take a red eye to Atlanta on Tuesday to vote because Georgia never sent his absentee ballot. So he flew across the country. Actually, he was in L.A. and he flew across the country to Georgia from his home in L.A. Why he didn't register to vote in California, I don't know. I'm sure there's a good reason. But he flew across the country to vote. That, my friends, is why he is. He's a BAMF. He's the BAMF of the day. I'm biting off of somebody. I think, who is that? Is that, I can't even think of his name, but Phil, he's a YouTube guy who's very popular. He has these BAMFs of the day. Lil Jon has to be the BAMF of the day. You figure out what BAMF stands for, all right? Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for sharing. Thanks so much for watching like you're watching. Thanks so much for listening. Man, what's wrong with me today? Have a great day. All right, appreciate you so much. I'll talk to you tomorrow.